My name is Chris Yapp. I'm a fellow of the BCS and the blogger on future technologies for the BCS. I think that the challenge for me is that there's so many of them. I think it's a very rich variety at the moment, and importantly, they all connect to each other. Just to give you one example, I was talking to one firm that were using LiDAR to create images, which they were then putting into a CAD CAM, and then connecting that to a 3D printer, and also taking the LiDAR data and putting it into a VR with AR augmented. And so the point is, it's everything connects to everything else, and you're trying to derive value by putting these things together in ways that are quite complicated. So I think the advantage is that everything connects to everything, and it's a lot easier than it was when I started in the IT industry in the early 80s. The difficulty is that you've got so many different skill sets you need, and I think that's the real challenge. And also, I think a lot of technologies that have been around a long time are now beginning to mature. So I think that's also very important. Augmented reality, the whole area of cognitive computing, technologies that you can go back 30, 40 years and see attempts with expert systems, with artificial intelligence. We're now getting to the point where the dream that people had 30, 40 years is now deliverable at the technological level. Translating that into business value is going to be the real challenge. Well, as somebody who does a lot of technical futures, I think you get two eras. You get eras when the technologies are fairly generic and they impact everybody in similar ways. I certainly think in the early 1990s, when people were getting used to the internet and the World Wide Web, you could do a single talk on the future of the technology, and you could do that to public or private or health or manufacturing, and pretty much it was the same. What I'm finding now is it's much more contextual. So if you're doing a talk on the future technologies in, say, the construction industry or in medicine, the types of technology underneath it may be very similar, but actually, to make it relevant to that audience requires quite a lot of understanding of the business. So I think we're in an era where the boundary of the IT industry is quite hard to define, and I think that the understanding of the business drivers is becoming much more important relative to the IT. I think there's two elements to that. One of which is to give IT skills to people with business skills, and the other is to deepen the technology skills. I actually think that one of the areas, that's going to be really quite important because of the complexity, I've written about it in my blog, is that I am concerned that the levels of integration that we are looking at in the next decade means we're going to have to put a lot more effort into basically end-to-end testing, regression testing, reliability. Because when they work, it's fantastic, and I've seen some brilliant examples, but the problem is when they don't work, you require an awful lot of complexity. So I suspect we're going to see not so much a focus on individual skill development, but on building teams. So in some senses, I'd look outside the IT industry and look at things like cinema and television, where you have a whole variety of different people and they come together on a project. So I think it's soft skills and having people who are technically competent in their own domain but can actually work with others to create the outcome you're desiring. So I think that's going to be the real challenge.